ready, George. Pom pom pom, yum pom pom. Diddly diddly pom pom pom, yum pom pom, yum pom pom. Diddly diddly pom. Krabby's alcoholic ginger beer sponsors Christmas on ITV. It's a household name which changed the face of the British holiday.
Butlins made us into different people.
Generations of holidaymakers have spent their summers there.
They pulled out all stops to make you enjoy your weekend. By God, they've done it nicely.
All these gags about I joined the escape committee and all this stuff wasn't true. People had a marvellous time.
But it's also a place where stars were born.
When Ringo put the phone down, he turned around to me and said, I'm going to join the Beatles.
Over the next hour, we'll look back at decades of British holiday making. From the Redcoats,
we would put the number up on the board, and if it was their child that was crying in a chalet, Mum or Dad would have to leave the theatre.
to the competitions.
I was involved with everything, running races, sack races, the football. I took part in like everything.
And along the way, we'll show home movie footage which has never before been seen on television.
I used to love the Merry Mixer.
As we celebrate 75 years of Butlins. In 2011, over 7 decades after opening their first holiday camp, Butlin still attracts more than 1 million visitors a year to its 3 resorts at Bognor, Skegness and Minehead. Today's Butlins have high-tech facilities with modern entertainment areas, smart hotels and a range of restaurants.
There you are, look. Thank you very much. Yeah.
It's a far cry from the destination which faced the first Butlins holidaymakers in 1936, when one man's bold vision was about to become a reality. In the 1930s, Billy Butlin was already a successful businessman, with fairground attractions at seaside resorts all around the country. But then he had a revolutionary idea.
You have now arrived at Butlin's holiday camp. We hope you've had a pleasant journey and that you will all be very happy here.
Butlin built Britain's first large-scale all-inclusive holiday camp at Skegness on the Lincolnshire coast. 6-year-old David Bradshaw visited the new resort on the very day that it opened in 1936. 3/4 of a century later, he's returning to Butlins to visit the one original chalet that still remains, now preserved as a Grade 2 listed building.
Oh, yes. The sink would be here. The little yachts, they would be on the curtain as well. It was a long line of brilliantly white buildings, all rectangular shape, with a sort of tower in the middle. That was Billy's idea. He wanted to build it like an ocean liner, and the tower was a funnel. The chalets, Billy painted them all in pastel colours. This was completely in contrast to things in towns. My hometown, it was a grey town. But to come to Skegness and see the bright colours and these white buildings, it was a wonderland.
Butlin targeted normal working families with an all-inclusive weekly charge of £2 and 5 shillings. That's just over £100 in modern money.
In my opinion, it was the world's very first packaged holiday, where people could come and pay one sum of money and they didn't have to pay anything else.
Billy Butlin had successfully launched his new empire, one which would become an enduring symbol of the Great British Holiday. But he was still missing one vital ingredient.
People were very reserved that time, you know, Dad especially. Mum would like to get up and dance, but Dad was very, I'm not going to get up and dance, no way. So he said, I need something, I need a mixer, a mingler, somebody who would spend some time with any age group, young or old.
Butlins recruited a team of hosts and entertainers to keep the guests active and happy. They wore red coats so that the holidaymakers could spot them in a crowd. Rocky Mason still remembers the code of conduct issued with his first red coat uniform over 50 years ago.
The rules were, you have become a famous philosopher, friend and guide. You are now a Butlin red coat. And as such, don't look for attractive girls. Look for the tubby little person, the wallflower, someone sitting alone.
But redcoats weren't supposed to get too friendly with the guests.
The male redcoats were opposite the unattached girls. And there was just like a walkway between their chalets and ours, right? And we used to call it the bridge over the River Kwai because you used to hide behind things. And when the security guards had gone by, you'd never cross.
Over the years, Billy Butlin would expect his redcoats to be equally daring when it came to the camp's many and varied activities, some of which carried more than a hint of danger, as Roger Billington discovered when he was working at Minehead in 1965.
Billy decided to send a speedboat down, and I want you to do water skiing. And I was the idiot who said to him, but Mr. Butlin, we've never water. In fact, we've never driven a speedboat before. He said, there's a library in Minehead, go and get a book out. In his vocabulary, there's no such thing as can't.
You've got to try it yourself to appreciate how difficult it really can be.
All right, the boat was on the railway line a few times and on the sports field, but we managed to water ski, and we got so proficient, we actually did a Pathley pictorial, doing crossovers in the end, and we got quite good at it.
There you are, it's as easy as that. You don't often see a champion take a nosedive.
But whether water skiing or guest greeting, working as a redcoat in the early days of Butlins was a much sought-after job. Valerie Nibbs was working at the Birmingham Telephone Exchange when she applied to become a redcoat in 1959.
To be a redcoat in those days was really like winning Britain's Got Talent. When I did get the letter to say I was going to Filey, all the girls from the Telephone Exchange being so excited was just really as if I was a star.
One of Valerie's most important duties as a redcoat was broadcasting the campers' wake-up call on Radio Butlin.
At 7 o'clock we say, good morning campers, this is Valerie speaking. This is just to remind you it's now 7 a.m. and your first sitting breakfast will be available at 8:15.
This is Radio Butlin calling with a special announcement.
And then you would play Sleepy Shores very gently. So it was the only way of communicating with so many people, because if you had people turning up at any time for breakfast, you can imagine there would just be pandemonium.
This was not a tactic that would meet with the approval of Roy and Jill Williamson from King's Lynn, who for the most part were big fans of the redcoats.
They pulled out all stops to make your holiday as nice as possible, and by God, they done it.
But after a busy day around the camp, the last thing the Williamsons wanted was a country music wake-up call.
Well, first thing in the morning, over the tannoy, they would start off with some music. And when we were there, it was always John Denver singing Annie's song.
I'd like to get hold of it, break it or throw it in the pool. That's what they thought of Annie's song after a week of that same record.
Soon, fed-up holidaymakers started to sabotage the speakers in their chalets.
We found out later they were coming with wire clippers. And so they were clipping the wires after the first day. The clip, and they'd have to go around all the chalets at the end of the week and repair these tannoy speakers.
events weren't waking you up, they were getting you involved in another great Butlins tradition, the competitions. Stephen Mulhern used to go to Butlins every summer as a child.
The main thing were the competitions, because they had a talent competition, they had a Grandma's Granny competition, an Obby Knees competition. Donkey Derby as well. How did that ever get cleared? And did I enter every year? Of course I entered every year. I don't think I won once.
But only the bravest would prevail in Butlin's famous competitions.
And they're off.
As Redcoat Roy Hudd discovered when he was instructed to grab a granny for one of the holiday camp classics.
You line them up there, you're going to do a pram race. And I've got this old girl in this pram, and I ran her up the road, you know, and hit a bump, and she came out, arse over head. I thought, you know, she was knocked out. And so she said, all right, for God's sake. And eventually she came round, and the first thing she said was, did we win?
Over the years, Butlin's competitions have unearthed some raw talent. Catherine Zeta-Jones got her first taste of the limelight when she won a junior talent show in 1979. Paul McCartney made his live debut performing Long Tall Sally as a teenager in Pwllheli. And 2 times Olympic champion Dame Kelly Holmes got a taste for success on the playing fields of Minehead, Skegness and Bognor Regis.
I was involved with everything when I was at Butlins. Running races, sack races, silk courses, the football. I didn't go in the pool much because I hate swimming. But anything else they had on, I would be there.
Butlins also gave Kelly an idea of just what being an Olympic star could be like.
It was in '84, I was 14, and Tessa Sanderson won the Olympic Games. And she came to Butlins in a silver car with a javelin printed along the side, and I had my photo next to her at the car, and it made me just think, oh, you know, this is definitely what I want to be.
But perhaps the greatest prize for the female holidaymakers was the thought of being crowned Butlin's beauty queen. It was a dream that came true for one young girl from Sunderland who spent every summer of her childhood at Butlins. From an early age, Julie Parsons and her older sister Debbie treated the holiday camps as a fashion catwalk.
It was about not just having fun, but looking our best, enjoying how we looked and enjoying getting dressed up, and it was fabulous.
But when Julie turned 18, Debbie talked her into taking things a stage further.
My sister persuaded me to enter the beauty competition. Before I knew it, you know, there was all of these girls in frilly dresses, and actually I was in a very plain black dress that I'd made myself. When the host asked me what I liked to do, and I said bodybuilding, he asked me to, you know, show my muscles. I think maybe the judges thought I was quite funny. So I got into the final lineup, and then they called my name, and I'd won it. It was all about fun, taking part as opposed to winning. But of course, when you win, it's fabulous, and any young girl in their teens wants to walk down an aisle with a sash. And I did that, so that was great.
Coming up, how Butlins played its part in the wartime effort, and then helped Britain to get back to normality. And the heavenly taste of a Butlins donut.
I could have had that morning, afternoon and night.